All right, folks. Well, as I just mentioned to you a moment ago, my dear friend and colleague Scott Meyers, the self storage expert, was not able to be with us here live at today's virtual event. However, we were able to twist his arm a little bit and pull him away. Not pull him away. He's actually still sitting at his home office desk. But anyway, to do a video here, to where even though he couldn't be here live virtually here on the panel discussion, Scott's going to spend a few minutes here with me talking about himself, talking about self storage, and most importantly, why is self storage, what are its benefits over other types of real estate investing? And then, most importantly, what is different for Scott and his team today since shutdown and coronavirus? And how is he able to do the self storage business virtually, where people are, not getting out. And even though the country is, already starting to open up a little bit, thank goodness, not only are things different today, but things are going to be different forever because of this. And so with that, folks, it's my pleasure. And I'm so thankful to have this opportunity to bring my good friend Scott Meyers right out of the green room and right here to front and center stage. So welcome, Scott.
Hi, Jay, and hello, everyone. Good to see you, Jay.
Yeah, Scott, this is great that we're able to put this video together. In fact, folks, this video that you're watching right now of me and Scott, actually, it was just taped less than 48 hours ago. So it's not like you're watching some video from 3 months ago and Scott doesn't know what he's talking about as far as what's going on right now in today's environment. So this is hot off the press. Just as good as though if Scott were here live on the panel. So, Scott, before we dive in, if you would take a moment and share with folks your background and how you got into this self-storage thing, your story, and why and how are you qualified to talk about self-storage?
Sure. So I think like most folks, I got into real estate, starting with single family houses. I bought the Carlton Sheets home study system, God rest his soul now. And that was my first foray into real estate. Bought a house, rehabbed it, rented it out, refinanced it then after we had a renter in it, and enjoyed about somewhere around $175 to $200 a month in positive cash flow. 3-bedroom, 1-bath, working class house in a working class neighborhood, just like Carlton had mentioned. And then we continued to replicate that. And then we bought 2, and then we bought 4, and then we continued on. And we had not a sizable portfolio, but we had about 80 houses. And then, but realized that there was still a lot of work. Every time those went vacant, we had to re-rent them. We were chasing tenants for cash, and it was kind of a hobby until it became a business, and I was still working a full-time job and couldn't really spend the time on it that I needed to. So quit my job, went full-time as a real estate investor, and then we started buying apartments and started buying 36 units and then a 70-unit facility or a complex and others around central Indiana, because we thought economies of scale would fix this and the cash flow would catch up and I'd have that free time that Carl had always talked about in real estate. And all they did was really compound my problems. And so, I realized at this point I didn't want to get out of real estate, for all the benefits that real estate has. Appreciation, depreciation. You can borrow money to buy it. It's one of the few investments you can do that, and then move somebody in to pay down your basis. It's a beautiful business. If it just weren't for the tenants and toilets and trash. So as I looked around the landscape, it was either parking lots or self-storage that would, get rid of the tenants and toilets and trash. And you can't really build value in a parking lot. So I started looking into self-storage. Bought my first one and realized that we have lien laws that protect us instead of eviction laws. And so when somebody doesn't pay, we lock them out and then we sell their stuff off and get paid. And then when they leave, I'm left with an empty metal box on a concrete slab. So no drywall, no plumbing to fix, no HVAC. None of that stuff. It's a metal box on a concrete slab. And so I thought, this is, I've seen the light. So we sold all our houses, sold all our apartment complexes, and then went full bore into self-storage. And so that was back in 2005. And fast forward to today, 48 hours before this event, as Jay mentioned, and we have now we've surpassed 2,100,000 square feet of self-storage. We've got 13,000 units nationwide. And we also, along the way, we created an investment education business as well, where we teach people how to do the business, consult with them, and then we partner with a lot of our students on our projects. And that's really how we've been able to grow to this to the place that we are. And we syndicate, we raise private capital, and we're doing $5 to $11 million Class A self-storage projects that are now competing with the big guys in the markets, whose names you would know if I shared those. So that's I think that's the 122nd version of it, Jay.
Well, that's a fantastic story. And you know what's amazing? You started doing self-storage, or no, did you say you started in single family in 2005 or self-storage 2005?
Storage in '05. I got into single family, and the first one I bought was in 1993.
Oh, wow. You do go back. Yeah, I
Mhm.
bought my first single family house for the purpose of flipping and real estate investing back in 2003.
Mhm.
And folks, I mean, you've got right here on the panel, you've got another fantastic, very successful expert when it comes to raising private capital, very similarly to how I do. And as he just said, he uses private money, private capital for funding a lot of his projects,
Mhm.
which triggers a question in my mind, Scott.
Mhm.
I would imagine some of your, or a good portion of your self-storage sellers, when you find a property or a self-storage existing
Mhm.
facility to buy,
Mhm.
um, do you find that, or have you found that a lot of the sellers will actually do seller financing and carry a note?
Yeah, they will, more so than when we were in apartments and houses. On the housing and the apartment side, most of the times they were backwards. They were upside down in their equity, and that was the only way they could sell, is to offer some seller financing. Where we found it's just the opposite in storage, and that it does so well, it performs so well that these owners, had them for a number of years. They've paid them off, they've paid them down, so they have a very low loan basis, and so therefore, when it comes time to sell, you know what they're faced with, and that is high capital gains taxes. And so, unless you've been living under a rock, or there's really something wrong with you, most people don't like to pay capital gains taxes, including myself. And so, for that reason, these folks are offering seller financing on their properties. And so, if they're not already even talking to us about it, Jay, then obviously we have our elevator speech as to the reasons why they should, because they should. They can defer those taxes and obviously get more money for their properties. And so, yeah, we found it's even more pertinent in self-storage than it was in the other asset classes we were investing in.
Excellent. So let's talk now about, so everybody wants to know, and I mean, very few real estate investors out there really are dialed in on the self-storage opportunity. So
Mhm.
let's first talk about prior to COVID-19.
Mhm.
And I know things are always going to be different, but when we don't have to be virtually all the time. So prior to COVID-19, what are your favorite ways to find the best deals on existing self-storage facilities out there?
Mhm. Yeah, so we've had the luxury over several years now, since we have had a pretty large education and consulting business, where we do have a lot of folks that bring deals to us to do joint ventures. And so, but aside from that, it really is. I mean, there's 11 approaches that we take to finding deals, but my favorite by far is still direct mail. We send mailers out, number 10 envelope, hand stamped, hand addressed. The letter's been the same for about the past 10 years, with a couple of tweaks here and there. And we get somewhere between a 4 to 6% response rate on average, sometimes a little bit higher, sometimes a little bit lower. Whereas when we were sending them out for houses and apartments, we were in that 2 to 3% range. So that is, again, by far the best, because it's a before, and no offense to any brokers that may be out there or on the line, but a broker is going to assess it and give them a price to either meet where they want to sell, or try to get them a little bit more and list it for a little bit higher maybe than what it's worth. Whereas we can come in and we can truly get it to, get something under contract that is at today's value of that facility, and without having to pay fees on the seller side, which means we can negotiate a little bit better price. But that being said, our second best way of finding deals is to partner with our brokers. We have great relationships with a lot of commercial and self-storage brokers that bring us deals, because they know that I don't have a license. We don't have anybody on our staff that has a license. And so they're going to get either full commission or a flat fee that is greater than 3% and just a little less than 6%. And they know that we have the ability to transact and close. If we put something under contract, we can perform which means that we don't tie up their clients' property, and they get their commission paid. We also go out to business brokers because a lot of these mom and pops, when they are looking to sell their facility, they look at their facility as a business instead of commercial real estate. And so they will contact business brokers to sell their business for them. So we scour those websites and have great relationships with those folks as well. And then the fact that I speak on the national level at the industry trade shows. I write articles for the trade magazines, and my name is out there in a number of places. They were able to, and I post in a lot of forums, the different, the bigger real estate forums, the names I'm sure most people know of. I'm all over those places. So when they search for self-storage, my name comes up a lot. And so we get a lot of opportunities that come our way from that standpoint. So it is a shotgun approach to finding deals out there, but those are my three favorite.
Is the self-storage opportunity and strategy a good strategy for a new real estate investor to consider getting into?
I would say so. I mean, most of the folks that we work with, and including myself, you say the biggest mistake we ever made in real estate, and to me, it was not getting into self-storage sooner. We wouldn't have had to pay the licks that we did in the other asset classes and riding the cycles and the valuations where self-storage is very solid during a recession as well as during boom times, and we don't have the tenants and the toilets and the trash. I think the one barrier to that, Jay, though, to be honest, is that the bigger the piece of commercial real estate, the easier it is truly to get it funded and to manage it, just because you do have economies of scale across the board that makes it easier. So when you're looking at commercial real estate or like self-storage, even if you're looking at something that's 150, 200, 500,000, it may sound like a lot to some folks. That still is somewhat on the small side in terms of being able to manage it. And some people may not be able to put that together until you get good at raising private equity like you are, Jay. And so it's a little difficult sometimes to start there. But boy, if you can, or if you can partner with somebody, that sure beats slugging it out in the lower forms of real estate until you get to that place where you have the ability to pull the trigger on something a little larger.
Awesome. Final question here for the panel and the audience, Scott, and that is, what would you say is the biggest difference on how you are going about your self-storage investing business today since COVID-19?
Mm-hmm. We've had to change things a little bit, but again, one of the beauties of self-storage is it's a low labor intensive transaction, period. We've been using kiosks since 2005. And so we have touchless rentals. They don't have to come in the office if they don't want to. They can rent a unit from their smartphone. We have websites that are mobile friendly and give them the ability to rent a unit from their smartphone. And then when they show up at the facility, they've already paid for it. They've chosen from the app, the map of the facility, the unit that they want. They get a gate code to come in once they've paid, and they either bring their own lock, or at several of our facilities, and it has a key fob or a code on the door to be able to get into the site. So the facilities that weren't completely able to be touchless, we've converted those over, and we've reduced our managers' hours by just a touch. I mean, it took a long time before we even did that. I mean, we've only reduced our payroll by a few hours across our entire portfolio on a few facilities. But since then, it's really just a matter of making sure that people knew that we were open, and that also our existing tenants, that they weren't afforded some of those luxuries like tenants in apartments and houses where they didn't have to make their payments and be evicted. They still have to pay for self-storage because it is an essential business, and if they want their stuff, they still have to pay. We're not sending anybody out with auctions at this time. We are being cognizant of that. But the good news is our accounts receivable hasn't taken a hit either because of the nature of our business. People need their stuff, and they know that we have the right to sell it if they're behind. So it's really just educating our folks and letting the rest of the public know that needs storage during this time, as businesses were shutting down and people were moving home and they were having to clean out their house to create an office, that we were open for business. So we've been moving along at a really good clip. And once again, we know self-storage does extremely well during a recession. We are the asset class that shines during a recession.
That is great to know. And Scott, thank you for coming here on the panel and sharing the information. Now, we're going to put your website back up here one more time here at www.selfstorageinvesting.com. So everybody that's watching right now here on the virtual event, make a note, write that down right now, selfstorageinvesting.com. And Scott, have you got some free training or reports at that website for the folks?
We do, because of everybody's looking at self-storage during our session because they've seen all the articles and how well we're doing. Obviously, our website's doing extremely well. And so what we've got to keep people from making mistakes is we've got a PDF. It's an ebook on the 7 mistakes that new self-storage investors make and how to avoid them. So we want to make sure that people don't go off half-cocked and making mistakes as they rush into self-storage right now. And so it's a little tool to keep them on the straight and narrow.
That's wonderful. So there you have it, folks. Get on over right after the virtual event, to selfstorageinvesting.com and take advantage of Scott's very nice offer there on the free report. So Scott, again, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you coming on.
My pleasure, Jay. Thanks for having me. And sorry I couldn't be there live with you.
All right, man. We'll be seeing you soon. Bye for now.
All right, that one's done. Good job.
All right.
Now the next one's shorter, right, Scott? We're going to reverse roles, right?
That's right. Yeah. So Scott, you'll just be asking Jay about the live event this Friday, the 22nd, 29th, and June 5th. And
now, I hate to do this, guys. Somebody made a snafu in our schedule because I've got a 1:30, something that starts in 5 minutes here. So we're not going to be able to give this proper time and justice. Can we reschedule that?
Sure.
I hate to do that.
No, this video is going to be going on Scott's social media, and also they can put it in the emails that go out, right, as well?
Yeah. So do you have time later today?
Let me see here. Hold on a second. I do at most likely 3:30 or 4 today.
Eastern time?
Yes, Eastern.
Okay, we got Gary Riverside at 3:30, but we could do 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you good at 4?
I can do 4 o'clock. Yep. You want to set that up?
Yeah, I'll send you another link.
Perfect.
And tell you.
Okay.
Thanks a lot, Scott.
All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you in a bit.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, Scott. Well, we're still live to the world, right?
That's correct. And we have.
I guess we should sign. Huh?
We have 2 people watching.
Hi. So I guess we should sign out, right, Scott?
Yeah. But we have one more thing we need to record.
Just at 3:30 Eastern.
No, you and I.
Oh, are we going to do that?